What is up, my friends? I'm so glad that you guys are here for this incredible episode 48 of MyFi. And I have my friends MyFeVER on the show. Great friends, been friends with these guys for a long time. They're talking about their brand new record, Escapism. They started this record, like writing this record back in 2019. It's a journey and a great conversation we had about the creation of the record. So let's get into it. Yeah. Glad you're here. Great conversation with my friends again today in MyFeVER. Make sure you're following them at MyFeVER Band everywhere on socials. MyFeVERBand.com is their website. You can pre-order vinyl of their brand new album Escapism, which is out today. It's an incredible record, and we have a great conversation about the creation of it. It's near and dear to my heart, not just because these guys are great friends of mine and I believe in what they're doing. They've released a lot of EPs, a lot of singles. They were playing 50, 60 shows a year that they were just touring hard, booking themselves, all that before the pandemic. We talk a little bit about that. But I love these guys. I had the honor of co-writing and playing guitar on a track on the record, which was super great, song that I love a lot. I'm very proud of, that they released as one of the singles. It's been out for a little while too. It's called Miracle. But the record's just full of great songs. I've known these dudes for quite a while, and you're going to love the conversation I had with them. They've got some shows coming up too. We talk about release shows for the record, but make sure that you check out the website, myfeverband.com, and follow them at MyFeVERBand everywhere on social media so you can stay up to what's going on, and make sure that you go stream the record. We'll have links in the show notes to all that, or you can go get those links from their social media as well. And check out this great conversation that I had with my friends in MyFeVER. What's up, fellas? How are you?
What's up?
Hey, we got it. This is take two.
Take two. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's worth it. Much better intro, Garrett, this time.
Solid.
Where are you guys at? Daniel's in Athens. You guys are close to home, vacationing, huh?
We're over in PCB.
Nice.
We're actually like on the east end of PCB, so we're real close to the state park and close to home, kicking it at the beach.
Are you jealous, Dan, or are you like cool with that?
I mean, I just got back from Colorado, so I'm feeling great.
I just got back from Athens.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's a great place. Great place.
And we were in Colorado like a month ago. It's full circle.
Dude, those pictures were amazing.
Which ones?
All the snowboarding stuff.
Oh, yeah, man. We had a blast. Out there. It's so pretty out there. It's so cool. And like this... Dan and I were texting about the snow. It's just, and the way the cold is so different than Southeast. It's so dry and lovely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, that's so wild. I took our family out there snowboarding 2 years ago, and it was the first time any of us had ever done it. My wife grew up skiing, but it was just unbelievable, like the landscape and everything. Did you write while you were out there? Did you take a guitar or anything and write?
Dude, I left everything behind. I didn't even touch a guitar.
No, is that good?
Yeah. Well, my uncle plays quite a bit, and he has several guitars, and usually I do at least grab one of those, but this last time was like nothing.
Yeah.
It was nice.
No.
We were supposed to write for Child of a Lost Man, which is our alter ego band, but it didn't.
I'm vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Is that the Dragon Scales song?
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
There's a lot of Dragon references.
Well, there's also the classic Engage the Rat alter band too, which is
I remember that one too.
Engage the Rat's quite good.
I'm glad MyFeVER's back. Not that I don't like the alter ego bands, but this is crazy. I remember, and I want to talk about the record a ton. I remember coming to the house that you guys all lived in. Dan, I don't know if you never lived in that house, did you?
No, I didn't.
Was it like Snellville area or something?
So the guy
was like Stone Mountain.
Yeah, they were in Stone Mountain, and I lived pretty nearby at the time. I lived in Tucker, so I was like 10 minutes away, which was really awesome for writing a record, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember coming down and writing with you guys at night and working on what became Miracle, and was super fun. And then like the brakes got slammed on. And I honestly, like, I can't tell you how many times I had friends or even my daughter going, "Hey, when's that song that you wrote with them? Like, when's that record coming out? Like, what's going on?" And it's like, was that 2019 that we worked on that, and y'all were working on the record?
Beginning of 2020, probably. Well, it might have been 20.
Yeah, so
we were writing in 2019. So we very well could have done the Miracle session like end of 2019, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe like fall or winter that year, and then we went into the kind of earlier parts of the pandemic was when we were finishing up and actually started tracking.
Is it weird, like, because you guys wrote those songs? I mean, like, all of you were doing different things and living in different places. Does it feel a little bit like that was a different lifetime ago and those songs are attached to like different things for you guys?
Yeah. I think we've talked about it a lot. There's a lot of guitar solos on this album. And I personally felt like the time that it was very much so a time where people were like over rock music. That's the way it felt to us, is that like even rock leaning indie music was so synth pop heavy, like Tame Impala era. But I don't know, I weirdly feel in that regard, like taking a break from the band, and there was a whole bunch of other things that happened in that period, but I feel like more refreshed and more excited about the arrangements and the songs. I think lyrically they were probably more tied to that period, but definitely coming back to them now, it like weirdly feels right in a way, I think.
Yeah. Like I remember I saw a post when Runaway, which was one of my favorite tracks and one of the singles when you released that, talking about your relationship with Lily, who y'all were like dating at the time, but now you're married and have a kid. Like it's been that long since, the writing of some of that stuff. And I know a lot of you guys, like you've moved and all that stuff had changed. Is the experience of the record being the subject matter of the record in your lives being 4 or 5 years ago that you were writing about, is that been like, oh man, this is awesome? Or has it been like, man, I'm kind of ready to sing about something else now. Like I've had these songs recorded for a really long time, you know?
Yeah, I think it still all feels really fresh. I think there's a couple. Runaway would be one of the songs in this category. I've played quite a few solo gigs in the last few years, and in that period where MyFeVER was taking a break, a lot of those, and I would play that song. But that song, it's kind of like Childhood Keepsake, another one of our songs to me. Like I don't really get that tired of it. It's just there's a simplicity to it that I like. But other than that, like, I mean, we're like getting, I don't know if you guys have rehearsed yet or not, but like we're just getting to where we're like prepping to play again, and everything feels, I think as far as like revisiting the songs, feels really fresh. Like, I mean, I'm going to have to relearn guitar parts.
You're
like learning your own. You're playing a show, a cover show.
I played that.
You're relearning basically your own parts. You're like, what did I even do there? And I mean, you were in the studio, so you did whatever you wanted at the time, and then didn't remember. It's been years since then, so it's kind of ironic because I feel like we toured the end of 2019, and then it was kind of perfect timing. Like COVID happened, we were planning on writing a record, so we were like, this works perfect. We're recording in our house. Who cares anyway? The three of us are just hanging out with each other for, however many months. And then we didn't even plan on waiting, but then it was also kind of like the same timing thing of like Wes said, like rock music was kind of on the out then, sort of, and or at least our kind of deal. And I feel like we didn't plan on that, but like now it seems a little more accepted, like more of like the thing that people are kind of doing, which is kind of ironic. Not that we planned on it, but it's just been kind of a feel good timing thing, I feel like.
Totally. I think the songs like stand so much right now and where music is at. Like there's something about like alternative rock stuff that's just like coming back to life, and people seem to want guitars, and guitarists are getting like a lot of love, especially like session guys who are playing with pop stars and all that sort of stuff. Like it really is. And the record doesn't feel, that's why I was asking the question earlier, if the subject matter feels old to you guys, because the production and the recording of the record feels so timely and timeless at the same time. I didn't even really, like, you guys sent a link like when the record was mastered. I don't even know, it must have been like 18 months or 2 years ago or something, like, and I listened to it, and then you guys took it down because the link had like leaked out to like too many people or whatever.
Well, it's just like we're getting too many views on this. We too many listens. This is for later.
Yeah, and then I didn't.
There was like a few hundred plays on SoundCloud on Heaven.
Wes is like, no, we're not extinguishing the excitement for this down the road.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally. But and so anyway, I didn't listen to it for like 2 years, and then I didn't listen to it again till the record came out. And then every single, I was like, God, this is a great song. God, it's a great song. God, it's a great song. And so it doesn't feel old to me. And I'm glad it doesn't to you guys. I can imagine you're having to go back and, learn all that stuff. But was there a time when you didn't feel like it was going to see the light of day? Like this may be it, and didn't know what to do with it? I
didn't ever feel that way. I don't know about y'all.
No.
What does Dan think? He was the furthest away from me and Garrett.
Yeah.
He probably did.
What's happening?
I always knew it would be released because we finished it all when we were all still living 10 minutes away together. So even final masters were done in July, I think, of 2020. And so we had, it was all the other things that had to get done. So we had no album art, we had no merch, we had no anything else. And so that was the challenge.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's like something interesting to touch on, actually, is it like the actual, we spent a lot of time writing the most songs we had written for a project. But
how many songs did y'all write?
We wrote like 30 plus. It was around 32 or 33, I think, total over like a year, it was quite a lot for us. I mean, we were playing a good amount during that time. Mm-hmm. And
we did solid demos for like every song that we
wrote,
and
we did
fairly solid,
more co-writing, but actually, like Dan was saying, like once we actually started recording, it went pretty fast. Like recording to masters in hand was actually a pretty relatively quick period, but then it was right into that long break.
Part of that was COVID too, because I mean, people were not going and doing their jobs, whatever their production jobs are in music. Like music industry definitely shut down. Like I feel like faster than anything else did. So I mean, there was people were like begging for work from afar to do from their house, which is what we needed, which was mixing and mastering and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I guess the timing of it kind of worked out back then.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Dan, what was it like? Like, because I know during that time, so you're all living close to each other, and then the pandemic happens. Everybody's got to figure out what to do with their lives. Wes and Garrett, you guys moved back to the Panhandle of Florida, and Dan, you're in Tucker still, or in Athens, or whatever at the time.
Yeah, so I was in Tucker at the time, and so like when we were recording, there was, we were like 10 minutes apart, and we had all lost basically all of our work. So it was pretty easy to record because we were just like, well, what are we going to do today? We're just going to go over and work on stuff. Like we have nothing else that we could be doing. And so, it was one of those where we just like really kind of buckled down for probably like 2 or 3 months there, and just got in the shed and really worked through some of those songs. Like some of them, like if you hear the initial demo that we did, is completely different. Particularly like No, I think is an incredible song, and I love it much more than the original demo, which sounds completely different. But
y'all should release those.
Yeah. But it was one of those, it was like, we knew with the original demo, we were like, hey, the chorus is like really awesome, and there's something here. And that kind of got it through the filtration process of, picking through all the songs and like which ones we wanted to keep and record and work on and stuff like that. So,
You guys should be proud of the production too, because production techniques, I feel like, are the things that probably change the quickest in the music industry. Like, this way that people program drums, or the way that people edit this, or the way that people do that, whatever. And it feels like super, super now. Was that, I guess you guys produced the whole thing yourselves, right? I know y'all recorded the whole thing yourselves, but you didn't bring anybody else in on the project either, right?
No. We got a rep on Dan. Dan is basically the mastermind behind. I mean, we all had friends and connections that we borrowed so much gear from. Like our like basement was just insane, full of gear. like our roommate at the time, Lance, we got to give him a shout out because he put up with it for so long and had like the tiniest little nook. He was playing music too. And so it was like, he like took one on the head for us taking all the space. But yeah, it was mostly Dan. I mean, I feel like a lot of it was Dan and his knowledge of, how to even audio engineer. It definitely wasn't me. It was mostly Wes and Dan, I would say.
Yeah. Dan really spearheaded like getting all the equipment together. I mean, we spent quite a bit of time like getting drum tones. Like it was weird because MyFeVER did so many singles and EPs. We did the twin thing, which is like basically a mini EP. And we knew this was like, we had put so much time into writing. We're like, this is the first album. Like we want to make sure that the quality is there. But ironically, instead of paying to go to some fancy studio, we were like, let's do it ourselves. Which is kind of an ambitious feat. But I think Dan like really crushed that. And all of us collectively, what was so neat about it was we were the one driving the production. It was us sitting in there making up stuff. I mean, we're not even really like keyboard, keys players, but I think what makes Escapism cool is that it really is, barring a couple little singles, like it was like the first time the three of us were like, all right, let's figure this out. Yeah. Let's sit down with these songs. And there was a lot of like back and forth. I mean, there were parts we argued over. There was stuff that was like revisions were made way afterwards and we totally changed stuff. But I think it was cool because the pandemic and us being close and us feeling like we had the best batch of songs, like really gave us that fire in the belly to like get all the parts right, and we had the time to do it. So it was just really cool.
And I think we took honestly the liberty, like we were talking the other day, we were just at the beach right now with the family and stuff, and we were talking about how we recorded so many parts. Like if we thought of something, we recorded it. Yeah. And then maybe we would choose one over the other, but a lot of times we just kept everything and then gave Jimmy and Paul like everything. I feel like we let them have like a pretty long leash. Yeah. Now I would have probably even let them have a longer leash. Yeah. As far as just picking and choosing what should be louder over something else, or as far as, especially like auxiliary percussion stuff and, stuff that's in the background that you might not notice.
Yeah. Yeah. Were there, and Dan, this is maybe a question for you. If you were driving, the majority of like the engineering and production stuff, were there bands, and all you guys can answer this, but like, were there bands, were there records, were there songs that you guys were like, we're kind of going for this? This is kind of the influence. This is kind of the sound when you were approaching the tracking process.
Yeah, I think the way I think about tracking stuff is maybe different from the way like a producer thinks about tracking stuff. I'm much more concerned with making sure I have like an accurate, good capture of each individual thing rather than, because to be honest, with modern plugins in technology, there is so much stuff you can do if you want to like make something sound vibier or like take away information to do in post, which I mean, like some purists out there are going to hate me saying that, but it's like, it's so much easier to remove information now than to like try to like gas up, a poor recording. And so for me, it was all about like, hey, what are the cleanest preamps I can have? I'm not committing to a ton of EQ on the way in. That way we just have like a very pristine stem in the end. And that lets us, if we go back and we're like, hey, like, let's take this drum loop and loop it like this and do this, kind of has a very like, fresh palette to it. Like we can kind of do whatever we want to it. And honestly, one of the best things about Paul and Jimmy is they're very creative. And they are very good at coming up with, so like, for instance, the beginning of Heaven, that drum intro, the like kind of canned,
kind of filtered thing.
Yeah.
We didn't record that.
Oh, they did that. Huh. Awesome.
They took it's the verse drum groove, and they took it and they created that, and that's all on them. Like, props. Like, we loved it. Like, Paul was like, hey, took a couple liberties, because I think that was the first song they mixed, if I remember right. They took a couple liberties, and I was like, okay, let's hear it. And we heard it, and we were like, yes, that's exactly what it needs to be, because we kind of knew at that point we were all kind of thinking Heaven was going to be track 1. And just having that slow ramp into the build was just like pretty sick. That's great. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. And shout out to them, because I feel like that's such a hard thing to accomplish. People always ask you, what do you sound like? You know what I mean? It's like the hardest question to answer, because you're like, I don't know. We just play music, and whatever comes out is how it sounds. But like when somebody's able to do that and bridge that gap, then you're like, yes. Like that's, I feel like a pretty challenging thing to accomplish, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they were a great fit for us. Paul Rogers and Jimmy Mansfield. I know they've worked together quite a bit and separately as well. But they've done a lot of pop stuff. They've done country stuff. They've done indie stuff, and they really got it for us. I think MyFeVER leans a little more raw indie rock, and we wanted, in the past, a lot of mixes and things we got back. It's like it was kind of just a nice compressed, clean version of what we sent. We wanted some like liberty on the mixing, the post-production side. Okay. And they really did that well. I mean, there was a few things I can think of maybe that we rolled back, but I would say like 90% of what they did, we were like, this is kind of what we want. And I like that, because it makes it exciting, because it's like, okay, we took it to a certain point, and I'm okay with another set of eyes and ears on a song to like bring it new life. I think that's cool, you know?
Yeah. It's one thing to have mix engineers that you trust to get you a great mix, and it's a whole nother deal to have mix engineers involved that can make the song more interesting by the way that they mix. And so it's huge that you guys found that. I want to know, what is your individual, each of you can answer this, what's your favorite song on the record and why? And barring that you haven't played any of these live yet, right?
Yeah. Well, we
like you've just been listening.
The thing that's crazy about it is we haven't really played any of them live ever.
That's what I mean.
Wes, Like we weren't testing these on the road in 2019. Yeah. Like, you know, it was like we were demoing for like 4 hours, and at the end of that 4 hours, we would have a little 2-bus recording. And then that just got archived, and we moved on. And so Unglued, which isn't on the record, but was released as a single that's the only song we had tested out on the road. And even that, the recording is drastically different from how we had played it. So I'd say my favorite song, because it's just fun as heck to play, is Up for Bass, at least for me. And there's so many like neat, nuancey things in there, is the one that we wrote with you, Lee, Miracle.
Nice.
It's getting to have a fuzz on and getting to do some pretty aggressive things. And then I also love the bridge that we came up with for that. Just a really different, like it seems out of the blue, but it doesn't feel wrong. Like you're like, oh, this is slow. This is really vibey. This is like halftime or
cool
whatever.
Chords in that part too.
Cool chords.
Yeah, that was Wes. That was all Wes.
So, it was one of those where it's like, to me, it just kind of does everything. Garrett and I have this cool mistake in verse 2 where it was in the original demo. It was like we had written the song with you, and then we came back and fleshed it out a little bit more after the session with Yuli. And Garrett and I had gotten off by like a beat from where Wes was going into that verse. And we were like, actually, this is cool this way. We're just going to keep playing it this way. So I've
literally never noticed that.
Yeah, it's same drum pattern as verse 1, just pushed a beat. And the drums and bass just push that beat, and then Garrett halfway through the verse comes back and gets back on the normal rhythm.
Probably one of the cooler like rhythm section things on the album is that verse.
Yeah. Honestly, the whole song, I love the rhythm section stuff. Like go into the very like Foo Fighters, like double time at the end of the song and stuff like that. I'm just here for it. It's fun for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Spinning or Remember 88, Dan, but it's interesting to hear you say that.
I mean, those
are like that's probably one of your favorites too. Those are songs that haven't been released yet that won't until the record's released, which is Tuesday.
Yeah, it's out now. If you're listening to this podcast, it's out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is out now. Yeah, it's out now. You can listen to it.
We recorded this in the past. It's now the future.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would say those are probably two of my. Whenever you say favorite, it's like my mind just splits into a million different things, and I'm like, well, favorite what? Probably favorite. What do you songs to play?
What song when you put the record on in the car that you go, I want to listen to that one again. I want to listen to that one again. That's kind of what I mean.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the songs, at least for me, playing would be Spinning and Remember 88, but then listening would probably be, No and Heaven for me. Listening back, I'm like, holy cow. Like we did a pretty good job here. And then, but then also there's like, I just think of like my favorite guitar solo that Wes has done, which is a song that I think I voted for, but y'all didn't, which isn't even on the record. So after this record, we come out with, there's still more to look forward to, at least, in my opinion. But I don't know. What are yours, Wes?
I think I have a special soft spot for On My Knees, which is another deeper song. But a lot of these songs are dressed up and they have like a decent amount of production. It's not anything insane, but that song to me sounded great and almost done when it was just the three of us. Like when we wrote that song and I just kind of switched from some chords to some high chords, and everybody's parts are just really simple on that song. But we did quite a thorough voting process in the band, and when we sent the demos, I think you were a part of it, maybe Lee, but we sent the demos to quite a few friends when there was the larger group of songs. And that one I think that one got a heavier band vote because we just liked it. It was maybe like right in the middle, but it wasn't definitely wasn't up with like Heaven and Red Sky. But I love the simplicity of that song, which people can hear now that the whole album is out, but On My Knees. And then I would say like a quick second besides the singles would be Corona. I'm a sucker for the slow songs, and I think that song's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I have to tell you, my daughter, which you guys all know, y'all are like uncles to her, but like she added Red Sky to her playlist. She like thinks it's a jam, and on the playlist it's like surrounded by like Taylor Swift and
nice,
Doja Cat and stuff. So you're like sitting right in there, with all the modern jams for the middle school girls. So
Spotify,
you got a wide,
notes.
You got a wide audience. Something's listening.
Swift.
Something's listening to us right now. I'm sure to change it. You guys are going to get like an email tomorrow. You got added to the Swifties playlist or something.
Yeah.
Need that.
I can't imagine that this was easy. Like, I know that everything's cool now. The record's coming out. Y'all got some shows coming up. But I can't imagine that any of this process was easy at all with the record being made so far in the past. You guys moving. Wes, you got married, had a kid. Garrett took over at a job that he loves. Dan stayed in Athens or moved to Athens from Tucker after this was over and took a job there. You guys have all done so many different things over the past 4 years. I just want to hear a little bit of what like your angles of the struggle of like fighting for this. It would have been so easy to give up on this and just go, you know what, let's just make it a Wes solo record, because I know Wes has been doing a lot of solo stuff. And I also want to say I've played Runaway more than the other two guys, because I did some shows with Wes, so I've played Runaway twice.
Probably
live. But little flex. I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah. But I just want to hear a little bit about from your vantage point, like Dan by yourself in Athens, like Garrett and Wes, you guys moved back. Wes is doing solo stuff. Garrett's working a day job. Like you guys and for the first time in a lot of your lives, I mean, you guys have always been in bands and always been musicians and always been doing the thing. and had to take kind of a break or a different angle from that. And I think it's interesting for people to hear when you have to fight for the creativity in your life that's important to you. So many people want to make a record or want to get this art out of them. And it's really hard, and life throws curveballs at you, and making things is really hard, or everyone would do it. And so I just want to hear from you guys' vantage point, the stuff that you went through from starting the record, the writing process in 2019, all the way to the record being out now in the late spring of 24. What were some of the times along the way where you were like, man, this is just, I don't know if it's worth it, or this is too hard, or we've got to keep going, or whatever? I know there are stories that have to come to mind for you.
Yeah. I mean, I know at least personally, there was, the way I thought about it was always like, hey, I know we're going to release this at some point. I just also know it's not right now, and like you mentioned, we just had a lot going on to where, especially coming out of the pandemic, I know for me, it's still been hard to get more work than, before the pandemic. And, Wes getting married and having a kid are like huge life changes, where it's like, hey, we know we all want to put this out, but we also know, because we've done it before, like to do it right, it takes a certain amount of commitment and work to like get all your ducks in the row, to do the podcasts, to get all the merch done, to book some release shows, there's this endless list of things that we work on every week. And so, after talking about it, probably, last summer, I'm trying to think when we filmed the music video for No, but last summer we talked about it and said, okay, like this is the time, this is what we got to do, kind of figuring out, getting back in the rhythm of, all the different things that we all each need to take care of to get stuff done. It was a struggle, but like ultimately, like we all sat down and we're like, hey, we're committed to do this now. Like we're all on the same page.
Yeah, we just had to get intentional about it after a long break. Yeah. Mostly my fault. Yeah. But I feel like it also, for me, there's a challenge there, because our favorite part is like releasing and playing live. Yeah. And it was knowing that I had all this, for me personally, it was knowing I had all this personal stuff. We also bought our first house in there, so that was like a big stressful thing. And like almost didn't happen. And, there was all this life happening, and then it was like the thought of like having to do like this stuff, even as fun as this is, like we're happy when we get done doing it, but like the posting and like the really independent side of like putting out an album, I knew that needed to be the best we'd ever done, like the best version of that. And we've done a lot of work towards that type of thing in the past, but the album I knew was so good it deserved that. I was just like, I don't have the bandwidth, space, energy to do this. And we maybe didn't even fully talk about that. It was just like, we just sort of were like, because to me, I was never like, I don't want to put it out. It was like same as Dan. And so I wasn't willing to be like, hey, this is just not going to happen. But it was just, there was so much happening. And the thought of doing that side of things is probably our least favorite. Like we have to get jonesed up to do it. Yeah. Whereas playing live and recording, like that's so fun, it was just like that thing that just kept getting pushed. But awesome now that we've, fully jumped in, and I think we've done spent the most time on the sort of crossing the T's and dotting the I's on, giving it the due diligence on the promotional side. We're still in that process, but yeah,
like putting in the same amount of effort to release it that you did to make it.
Right.
I mean, it's tricky because it's a couple of years off. So you're like, why are we doing this again? Because you haven't, but I would say definitely well worth it. And Wes and Dan are like the planners. If this was up to me, I'd just be haphazardly releasing stuff.
Garrett would be in a dark room with some percussion. Getting weird.
Yeah.
In his perk record.
Yeah. Was there something for you, Garrett, that because I know like you've had a lot going on too. Garrett bought a plane Like in this.
Did I?
Yeah, how to fly.
Yeah, he
partnered with someone close to me and made it happen. I put in an offer on a house. Also, it was the best offer. They didn't take my offer, so I was like, well, the only thing you can do is, I guess, put this into something else more fun.
Like a plane.
Yeah, totally the right call too. But I say that to say, like, you've had some endeavors too and have your own success and things. And was it hard for you to jump back in? Like, and was there any hang up for you that just like, man, I don't know.
Yeah,
you're saying they're the planners, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, I mean, that's not always my first thing to do, is like to sit down and plan and then grind through all the, I mean, yeah, like honestly, Wes has done, I feel like, way more than that. And maybe even Dan more than me, as far as the stuff that is just so tedious and thinking about posting every day. I mean, it's so different than it was even when we wrote the record, as far as like your presence to people on earth and how you release something like this.
Yeah.
If you're just independent, you know? So it's like, man, the social media world with releasing music is like, Wes, I got to give you credit, because there's things that, you know, as consistent as you've been doing that, you know, releasing and coming up with stuff to post and to let people know about the record it makes a difference, I think.
Yeah, totally.
That's just, it wouldn't be my first thing to want to do, you know?
Yeah. But you guys, obviously you've worked so hard to get this record out. Now, what are the plans? Like, I know you have a couple of release shows coming up in like your foundational cities, which MyFeVER was sort of born in the Panama City, Bay County area of Florida, but then relocated to Atlanta for several years. And you guys built a pretty solid fan base there. Now you're kind of spread out in a couple of places. So you're doing a couple of release shows. Garrett already alluded to the fact that you guys have songs that didn't make the record that are kind of done, you know, and tracked and everything. What's the future look like for you guys?
I think like we already touched on, we're definitely heavily focused on just album. And it's been so much lead up. Like, we're excited to do the release shows, get the songs actually out. And, we have, you know, our hands in a few buckets as far as like promotional things and whatever coming up. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, it's the same thing. Like keep creating, keep writing, keep releasing, keep playing. And life definitely looks different for me, where, you know, it doesn't make sense to like road dog and just play a bunch of shows for like no money. Yeah. So I think we're just trying to be more intentional and keep growing the, you know, like the online presence and stuff. But I still think the main thing's the main thing, like chasing that song that you know you can write but isn't there yet, and just finding that amazing song. And the thing that inspires us, I would say, is that and playing live. So yeah, I think we're definitely planning on playing more shows. I know we have like a one-off already set in August, and then we're wanting to support the record in that form too. Just maybe not every single month. Like, we just have to like be intentional. So I think probably like a fall tour. And then, I mean, the thing that's cool too, like on the artistic side, is like, I mean, the whole time that we weren't doing anything MyFeVER, like I'm always writing, always phone demoing little ideas that I have. And I was even telling Garrett the other day, I mean, I have so many like A-list type riffs and stuff that I just know when the three of us get together, like, oh yeah, it will be easy song just based on our rapport of what we've done in the past together and written in the past. So I think it will be cool too. I mean, the world now is like, it is so annoyingly just keep putting stuff out, stuff out. But I think that the cool side of that is singles and doing more songs. And so I know there'll be, there's many more exciting things waiting to happen on that front as far as new songs and singles. And I don't know, like Escapism was such a notch in the belt for us of like, I think it's our best stuff and we just did it ourselves. And so to know we can do that, and to know like, if you want to just hit the reset button and go do a more traditional setup in the studio with a producer or whatever, like that could be exciting too, because we did the prior, like more recently. So I think the sky's the limit as far as that goes, but it is exciting to know like Dan could just come down to Panama City and we could have the badass song in like a couple days, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what, when you're asking what the future holds, I mean, I feel like that's, we've been doing all the work to get just the record out. And then to me, it's like the re-beginning of, well, then we get to play the songs, which is really fun. And then we get to write again, which is probably the part I've missed the most, is the writing, even more than playing live. Mm-hmm. I feel like the writing part, like it's just going to be, I just feel like pretty easy once we get back together for a little bit to write after releasing all this and doing shows, and you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think as far as it comes to playing live, is we really got to kind of test drive the modern market of playing live from 2016 through 2020, because we were averaging 50, 60 shows a year that we had booked and played on our own. And so, and while I think that was like really great for fans, like the people that showed up and stuff like that, we just kind of learned it's like, hey, in this modern era, like your digital presence matters way more to an A&R guy or a booking company who's looking for direct support than, you know, you going and playing the Earl or the Royal, even though that's awesome. And we love doing it. And we're super thankful for everybody that shows up at those shows. Like, that's great. But the industry's modernized, and like, it's become very online in terms of looking for talent and stuff like that. And so I think with us being spread out and our life situations just being like, there's more irons in the fire and things going on with different work situations. When Wes says we have to be strategic, that's what we mean. It's like, that doesn't mean we're not going to play shows. It just means we're going to be a little more choosy about what shows we do play. And to be honest, like, hey, if you're a booking agent who books bigger tours, we'd love to be direct support for somebody because we can do a really good job. You know, so that's kind of where we're at when we say like strategic in terms of like shows. It doesn't mean not playing at all and just being like, hey, we just record stuff and put it out. It's just maybe a little less grind set on like smart. You know, just get out there and play, like the very like old school like mentality that frankly like we didn't see it move the needle in a positive or negative way. It was just kind of like, oh, well, that's time gone, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that you guys have a release show in the hometown in Panama City, Florida, June 21st. Is that right?
Yep. June 21st.
Yeah, June 21st. Tickets are on sale. You can go to the MyFever at MyFever Band on Instagram and find all the links and information and all that sort of stuff that you need for the show. MyFeverBand.com. You guys have vinyl for sale. I pre-ordered myself.
Thanks, man.
And excellent. Do you guys have a date for the Atlanta show yet? I know we've talked about that briefly a few days ago.
There's not a hard date on that one yet, but it's going to be probably deep summer, like July, August.
Okay.
At this point, potentially early
knowing
fall,
it's coming.
But yeah, we have a lineup. We just got to get the venue fully tied up for that one.
Nice. So look for that. Make sure you're following these guys at MyFever Band everywhere on the socials and MyFeverBand.com. Y'all, thanks so much for the time. I know you guys are like brothers to me, so I'm excited that the art's finally making it out there for everybody, and you guys are taking the chance. Being creative is not easy, and getting this work out, fighting for it, it matters. These songs are incredible. Cover to cover, the record's awesome. I'm so glad it's in people's ears now. Go stream it everywhere. Escapism's out. Go buy the vinyl, all that sort of stuff. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks so much, Lee. We appreciate you, man.
Dude,
absolutely.
Thanks for having us,
man. Great conversation with those guys. Y'all, this record is just fantastic. Great songs, great recording, great parts, great production. I love it. I've been listening to the singles and the stuff that had been out previously. Glad the whole record's out now. The whole thing's amazing. Make sure that you go check it out, stream it everywhere you stream your music. Make sure to check out MyFeverBand.com and order vinyl if that's your thing. And if it's not, it should be. Get yourself a record player. Buy some records. You know what I'm saying? It's a good thing. And then make sure you're following them at MyFeverBand on all the social platforms and whatnot. You can follow me as well at Lee T. Baker on all the socials. You can follow the podcast at MyFi Podcast as well on all the socials. I also do a weekly newsletter called MyFi Monday, every Monday for creative people, where I just talk about practical inspiration that can help you as a creative person in your journey. I spend part of my time playing music and part of my time coaching creative people and helping them dream and helping them build plans to achieve the dreams that they have. So if something like that interests you, you can check out leetbaker.com and find out more information about what creative coaching looks like. But yeah, just make sure you're following all the stuff and doing all the things and go out there and make some stuff. And until next time, you guys have a good one.